Morning patron subscribers, gold's interesting because really from a sentimental view at the static picture we are a buy, and we also looks like we're a buy on the dynamic, but also alternatively we did do a massive stop hunt. So I'm wondering whether or not this is going to be the top. And the trouble is we are in this consolidation box, in so much that they bought it here on this candle, so we can potentially hold this box. 1898 should hold, so perhaps we're looking for a test of that low, or maybe even a test of the SLC. Because we're a buy here and we're a buy here, it would be fairly naughty to come down to the SLC, but that's a possible scenario, is that we're going to come down, take those stops for a bounce, and then we'll have to see if we get like a better candle after that stop loss cluster probe. So decent trade potentially if you'd called it. You could have just stop up there potentially in hindsight, and so really it'd be quite naughty if we fell and got that stop loss cluster. But you could maybe argue this whole thing is a big old stop hunt. I mean, it went 1815 to 1930 in a very short space of time. It's an hourly chart, so it's a very, very aggressive move. So this could be done. I note that we might have an interchange of the profitable buyers and sellers. You can see how we're going to have like a convergence of the two. If these two swap and they switch their bias, then then it will be a decent short. And then of course that will tell us the profitable traders are now bearish, and then then we really can target the stop loss clusters below. So if we did one below, it would be slightly naughty, but you could also argue this is a big liquidity hunt, a stop hunt effectively, and they wanted to hunt those stops and punish those retail guys, and it took out a lot of money in the process. So a bit tricky. So I think maybe 1898 can hold. If we dip below, then we could probably get the stop loss cluster for a bounce. Okay, and bit tricky. And then we'll look at our major crosses. Remember the Aussie USD, we're fairly strong. We're sort of going in a trend upwards, aren't we? We're really aggressive and very, very choppy. But you can see how we're making those technical, so technically a bullish picture. There's MR1, and the stop loss cluster there is at 70.20, and one below is at 68.50. And weekly open here, so we can target ATR long, ATR short, and if we exceed the weekly ATRs, then we're slightly overdone, but it can happen. But they're not bad targets. If you've got a long bias, you can TP there. But note that we'll get the stop loss cluster before that. So a bit tricky, and we've done some USD analysis in the Discord as well. So it's looking fairly bearish for the USD. And remember, the got data did show us a decline of USD contracts over time. So we are trending up, but we're zigzagging a lot. So you've got to be careful. Weekly open, probably want it above weekly open ideally. We're below weekly open, so there's we've got MR1 there as well. So maybe MR1's going to hold. If we go below MR1, that ATR short looks likely. That could be a good trade actually. 69.29 to target 68.74. So that could be a good scenario. Enter below, put an order in here to target that. Your stop could be there. You can look like a 5R trade there potentially. So maybe an order at 69.26. Stop at 69.32. 10 pip stop. Target ATR short. So that's what we can look at potentially, but I do note that we are sort of ascending, so it'll be a bit of a counter trade, but also they're going long on their sentiment as well, so that's actually quite bearish. So that's maybe a potential scenario, and we need like a bit of risk off for this, obviously, because if we go risk off, this will suffer and the dollar will appreciate, the USD will appreciate over the Australian dollar. EU and MR1 108.26, so that's obviously a really important level. Weekly opens 108.28, so we've got MR1 weekly open, confluence SLC 108.75, One below is at 107.70. They are selling it slightly, so potentially we can have MR1 for an SLC, which is a 49 pip profit if we do use it as a support. And, so that's quite tricky. You know, we are in a sense. This was like quite a bullish move. This broke that trend, and then we rallied like crazy. So currently, in a sense, so MR1 is going to be a bit of a hurdle, but we've got weekly open there. So we do manage to create a H4 candle above. That's going to look quite good for the EU. Okay, and look at pound, and then we'll look at dollar yen because we've got the BOJ tonight, which is going to cause a lot of shockwaves. Pound USD, so SLC 122.30, one below is at 121.61, sideways, and we're a bit naughty because you know, we can potentially really not be coming up because we're a sell at the big picture, and FXCM clients are short. They're long, sorry, so they're getting paid as well at FXCM. So that was a nice move for the retail guys. They got paid on that, and we're taking that stop loss cluster above, I think. It looks like we have, haven't we? So a little bit naughty, but we've got monthly pivot, and so that was always going to be a good support. And I'd be surprised to see price go below monthly pivot, but if we do, then we'll get the stop loss cluster. So we would have done a bi-directional stop hunt on GU. So be careful with pound USD, and now dollar yen. You know, it's very cold right now in the UK. Dollar yen is 129.52. One below is at 128.15. Monthly support, and see my video, or should I say our video in Discord about UJ as well, because we created a punishment zone down here where they sold it. So that should act as a resistance down here, and we've got monthly support as a support. We created a punishment zone that will act as a support, not a resistance. It acts as a support because they sold it. So that's a support down there. So I'll be surprised to see price go below 127.18. And if we do, then MS2 is going to be likely. Yeah, I think I need a new computer. It's very slow. MS2 is all the way down here, which is MS2 here, 125.65. MS3, which I think is very unlikely, but 120.73. And we won't exceed that because it will be very unusual. But we can exceed R3 and S3. It's very unlikely, but it can happen on the rare occasion. So a bit of support down here because we created a punishment zone. More information is in Discord if you're unsure how those zones are created. And don't forget we've got that MS1. So a bit tricky. Maybe we'll have a risk-off scenario in New York. If we do, then you know this can come down, and this idea to target the ATR short might be quite nice. Yeah, looking for a 5R trade there. So it's 51 pips to TP with a 10 pip stop. Yeah, or something like that. Maybe it could even less than 10 pips, really, couldn't it? Could be 7 pips. So that's probably what I might do. Might look for that for AU, but it's a little bit bucking the trend a bit. But of course, it will depend on risk appetite. So trade safely and be careful because the BOJ, and they're saying the implied volatility on that is going to be immense, and UJ is going to move 300 odd pips this week, and it's going to spill over into G10 FX pairs. So it could be quite volatile if you're holding yen trades overnight. So if you are, just be careful, and I'll speak to you guys soon.